Page 647. Please join me. Ozi bezimraya vayili lishua. 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 Ozi bezimraya vayili lishua.
Achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh ve'ani lo yadati. Surely God was in this place and I did not know it. Said our patriarch Jacob as he was heading forth from his father's house to that of his uncle, fleeing from the wrath of his brother, after the dream he had, seeing the angels climbing up and down the ladder. Surely God is in this place, and I did not know it. Jacob found God in the wilderness. He found God in a place that was full of nothing. And all the more so as we come together on this Shabbat, as we come together in community to be with one another, to celebrate Shabbat with each other, to remember the past together, to offer prayers of healing and comfort. Achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh, ani yodea. Surely God is in this place, and I know it, we know it. We feel it as we open the service with the words that say, God is my strength and might, God is my salvation. And as we come together on Shabbat, we look to the strength of Adonai, we look to the strength of our community as we take this time to take the step back, to breathe, to renew ourselves, to look inward and outward at what our week was and who we are as human beings, relishing in this gift that God gives us each week, this gift of time. So we come together on this Shabbat, both here in person as well as virtually through Facebook and YouTube, our website, Zoom. We know we are community, here together, supporting one another, lifting each other up, finding God together. As we enter into this Shabbat, we do so by bringing light into creation. So as we turn to page 120, going to invite our Ritual Committee Chair, Sherry Nemiroff, to please come forward to light our Sabbath lights.
And we sing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehatlik ner shel Shabbat.
Page 124, we read responsively. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nature.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. We enter into Shabbat with our service of Kabbalat Shabbat on page 130. Lechu neranena la Adonai, nariya letzor yishenu, nekad ma'afanav bitoda, bizmirot nariya lo. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai. Raise a shout for our rock and deliverer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song. For Adonai is a great God, the great ruler of all divine beings.
Shiru Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru Adonai shir chadash. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru Adonai shir chadash. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru Adonai shir chadash.
The mystics taught that on each Shabbat we are accompanied by two angels, the angel of blessing and the angel who is a troublemaking angel. Both are sent to bless us in their own special way. And as we turn to page 142, we welcome in the angels of Shabbat, bless them and ask them for their blessing as well, and bid them farewell until next Friday night when they return to us again.
Shalom Alechem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Leshalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni leshalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem leshalom, Malchei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We turn now to page 144 for the Chatzi Kaddish as we transition into our Mariv service with the Shema and its blessings.
Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Bialma divrach hirutei v'yamnich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei chol beit Yisrael. Bagala bagala uvizman kariv Ve'immeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach. Le'alam u'le'almei almaya. Yitbarach. Yitbarach. Ve'yishtabach. Ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh. Ve'yitadar ve'yitaleh. Ve'yitalal. Shemei dekudisha berichu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tush berchata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma. Ve'imeru amen. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Barechu et Adonai Amvorach. Baruch Adonai Amvorach. Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed. Yalalai lai lai. 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 Am I awake? Am I prepared?
Please be seated as we continue reading together at the top of page 149. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, Amecha ata, Amcha ata. Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbenu, uvkumenu na'asiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratcha, mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, nege yomam v'layla. V'avatcha tasir, mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'afta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'am B'shivtecha b'beitecha uvlechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha Lima'an tizkiru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai V'yitem kedoshim le'elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti echem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet.
We read responsively on page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Yai lai 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 lai.
Yai lai 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 lai.
Yai lai 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 lai.
Yai lai 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 lai.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neder b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neder b'kodesh. Nora Ose Nora Ose Adonai Imloch Le'olam Va'ed Yai lai 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 Yai lai 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 lai. Baruch Ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
Page 161. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety. And in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch Atah Adonai, Haporeh Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Amo Yisrael, V'al Yerushalayim. Page 162, we turn to these words from Torah, reminding us that as we keep Shabbat, it will keep us as well and renew our souls.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam Berit olam
Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat Shabbat vayinafas Shabbat vayinafas
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam, meini uvei b'nei Yisrael oti leolam. Oti leolam. Oti leolam.
We turn now to page 164, and if you are able, please rise for the tefillah.
Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Adonai sifatai tiftach, ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imachot, U'Mevi Gula Libnei V'neihem, L'man Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor leolam Adonai, Mechaye hakol ata Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach hamorid hakashem, Mechalkel chayim behechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Zomech noflim verofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato li shenei afar, Milchamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lehachayot hakol, Baruch ata Adonai, mechaye hakol, ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehallelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Yehu leratzon imrei fi vehegyon libi lifanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri v'goali Yehu leratzon imrei fi ve'yol libi lifanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, v'goali, v'goali.
Page 522.
Ashrei hagafru shenisraf v'hitzid lehavot. Ashrei haleavet sheba'ara b'sitrei levavot. Ashrei alvavot sheyadu lachdol b'chavod. Ashrei hagavru shenisraf v'hitzid lehavot. Ashrei hagafru shenisraf v'hitzid lehavot. Ashrei haleava sheba'ara b'sitrei levavot. Ashrei halevavot sheyadu lachadol b'chavod. Ashrei hagafru shenisraf v'hitzid lehavot.
Okay? Yeah. Okay. 1 minute.
As far as
83 years ago,
too
on the
close.
night of November 9th, the world changed forever. The Jewish people before that night had surely experienced anti-Semitism. They had experienced pogroms, some even sponsored by the states they were living in. But November 9th and 10th, Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, the state-sponsored pogrom across Germany that destroyed synagogues, Jewish businesses, Jewish homes, began truly the dark night that was to follow over the next years. Here in our ark at CDT, we have a Torah that survived the Holocaust, and each and every Shabbat, when we have a bar or bat mitzvah, at confirmation ceremonies, we take that Torah out of the ark and we pass it to our young people as it serves as a witness to that
clumsy.
nighttime, the darkest moments
is
that our
clumsy.
people have
It
ever witnessed.
interferes with my line of vision.
And tonight we are blessed to be in the presence of another witness, a member of our community who witnessed the beginning of that nighttime. Arthur Meyer was born in Milbach, Germany in 1925, came to the United States in 1939 at the age of 14. He lived in Brooklyn fought in the Second World War, and raised a family in New Jersey before moving to Tampa, Florida in 1995. And just last year, Arthur moved to Georgia to be near his daughter, Sherry, who went over there. Art, upon joining CDT, is our oldest member, and it is truly an honor to invite him to share his Torah, to share his stories with us tonight. So please join me in welcoming Art Meyer to our Bima.
Yes.
How's that? Better?
Okay, let's try. Let me go back to November many years ago, more years than most of you might be old. The year was 1938. The location is Germany. At that time, Germany was under the heel of Adolf Hitler, who had taken over ruling Germany and had begun his genocide of the Jews. In 1935, he had stripped us of our German citizenship and declared us non-human. Conditions for the Jews became worse each year. By 1938, many Jews had left Germany to escape Hitler. My family had not been successful in doing that. On the morning of November 10th, 1938, I went to school in the morning as usual. When I arrived in school, my teacher told me to go home and not to return. By the time I arrived home, I learned that my father had been arrested by the police. Understandably, my mother was very upset. A few hours later, somebody on the street was shouting, "There's a fire." We found out that it was the synagogue that had been set on fire. 3 months earlier, I was the last bar mitzvah in that synagogue. We also learned that the Jews were being picked up by the authorities, and we became more apprehensive. We didn't have to wait long before the police came to arrest my mother and me. My sister was out of town, therefore was able to avoid being arrested. By this time, a mob had assembled on the street, and as we were being taken to the center of town to the police station, they started throwing rocks at us. When we got to the town hall, we were locked in the cell, a jail cell, which was big enough for 4 people. At that time, Jewish population of the town of Eppingen was 10 families. Needless to say, it was a very tight fit for everyone. I had hoped to find my father there, but none of the Jewish men were there, and the police would not tell us anything about their whereabouts. After locking the cell, they turned out the lights and left us by ourselves. It was the most frightening experience. At about midnight, the police came back, unlocked the cell, let us out, and told us to go home. When we arrived back at our apartment, we found our landlord sitting on the stairs of our apartment with a pitchfork. He told us that a gang had tried to get into our apartment, but he was able to fight them off. He was a good and generous man. My mother and I thanked him, and when we got into our apartment, we found that nothing had been disturbed. We locked the door, and I pushed the furniture against the door so it would be more difficult to get into the house in case the mob returned. That night became known as Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. And what took place that night was an atrocity. All the synagogues were burned, all the Jewish businesses were destroyed, and many Jews were killed. The following day, the chief of police came to the house and told us that my father and the other men had been sent to the concentration camp in Dachau. This action was a retaliation for the killing of a German attaché in Paris by a Polish Jew on November 9th. Since I was not able to attend school anymore, I started to help our landlord, a farmer, since he was alone with an elderly wife, trying to keep his farm going. About a week later, we received a postcard from my father from Dachau, which said, "I am well." 18 days later, my father walked into the house. We were very happy to see him. Then he told us the story of his release. One day at Dachau, the guards came to the barracks and took him to the office of the camp commandant. There he was taken into the office, and the commandant told the guards to leave and close the door. The commandant then asked my father whether he remembered him. My father answered no. The commandant then told my father that he remembered him because he had saved his life. The commandant had been my father's company commander in World War I in the German army. My father had rescued him after he had been wounded in action in France in 1917. My father was wounded in the attempt. The commandant said, "You saved my life, and I want to save yours. I'm releasing you and anyone that is related to you or is from your town. My advice to you is get out of Germany." That was easier said than done. In order to leave Germany at that time and go to the United States, you needed a stateside sponsor, a quota number from the American consulate, and be of good health. Finding a sponsor was difficult because our relatives in the United States had sponsored other members of the extended family. Time was going by fast, and we were getting desperate. We knew that something else would take place in Germany to get rid of the Jews. My mother's brother had immigrated to America in 1936 with the sponsorship of his maternal uncle. He contacted him, and he became our sponsor. Now began the process of securing a visa. We applied to the American consulate and were given a date to appear. We were given physical examinations and interviews. One question that was asked was, "How do you intend to get to America?" My father said, "We have tickets and are ready to go." Next question was, "How did you get the tickets?" My father said, "My wife's brother sent us the tickets." And the American answer was, "We won't give you a visa unless you pay for the tickets yourself." Back to square one. He sent the tickets back to my uncle, which he was able to return to the shipping line, and he sent us the money. We were able to book passage on our own and then apply to the consulate again for a visa. Again, we got an appointment, and it was getting close to the quota and deadline. This time we were in luck and were given our visas. We packed what we were able to take with us, left Germany on October 29th, 1939. We spent the next night in Rotterdam and learned that Hitler had closed the borders. We went to Belgium and boarded the Holland America Line ship Penland and sailed the following day. After a stop in England for more passengers, we started our crossing of a stormy Atlantic Ocean. Needless to say, we all got seasick. 13 days later, on November 15th, we arrived in New York and were happy to see the Statue of Liberty. Our ship docked in Hoboken, where we met a first cousin of my mother's. He told us to let him handle our immigration, and he would explain the details to us later. When all that was completed, he took us to his car and started driving to Brooklyn, and he told us why he wanted to take care of the immigration details for us. While we were at sea, our sponsor had died. Since our sponsor was no longer alive, and since the sponsor had to take care of us until we could take care of ourselves, we were now technically without a sponsor, which would have resulted in our ship being shipped back to Germany. When we arrived in Brooklyn, we stayed with an aunt of my mother's, the sister of her father. We had a bewildering beginning in the United States because there were many things we had never seen before, such as American cheese, sliced packaged bread, and ketchup. Among the first experiences of freedom was my father's birthday on November 20th and Thanksgiving. Since I was of school age, I had to find a school to attend. At the time, I did not speak English. I was 14 at the time. Another cousin who was 3 years older and had been in the country for 2 years was a student at Brooklyn Automotive High School. He took me with him, and after they looked at my school records from Germany and saw that I had completed the 8th grade, they admitted me. I shadowed my cousin for 2 months and then followed my own program and had learned enough English by that time so I was able to survive. I graduated high school in January of 1943. I kept working until I had to enter the military service on November 1st, 1943. I served in the U.S. Navy in California and then the Philippines. I was discharged on May 4th, 1946. I returned to civilian life and enjoyed being free. Given the uncertainty of my younger days, I was lucky to go on to a successful life and have a wonderful family for which I am thankful every day. It's important that I tell this story and we never forget what happened and ensure it does not happen again. Thank you for the opportunity to share my story. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Art, thank you so much for sharing that story, your memories with us. It's truly a blessing that we have had the opportunity to do the mitzvah of bearing witness to your history, just a small part of the history of our people. And we thank you again for being with us tonight, for opening up your heart to us, to your new community here in Johns Creek. And we are so happy that you're able to be here with us tonight, and want to just express our profound gratitude to you and Sherry for helping organize this, and Fred for all you do behind the scenes. But thank you so much again.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Amen.
I have many more stories.
Mhm.
653 at the bottom. Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, hachol v'hayam, rishru shel hamayim, birak hashamayim, tfilat ha'adam, hachol v'hayam, rishru shel hamayim, birak hashamayim, tfilat ha'adam. O God, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
We pause now in our service as we think of those members of our community, those members of our congregational family, our friends, our family, those in our immediate and broader circles who are ill, who are in need of a prayer for healing. This week we think especially of Richard Zuspin, Lee Silverstein, Jill Van Team, Eleanor Goodman, Yuli Makovich, Libby Routman, Laurel Phoenix, Marjorie Whitmore, Jerry Phillips, Claire Levin, Paul Kershon, Reva Fisher, Chandler Jacobs, Aaron Withers, Brianna Jacobs, Leslie Knight, Bert Singerman, Stephen Schiff, Mateo Velazquez, Dr. David Mazel, Janelle Siegel, Rachel Davis, Max Jacobs, Kathy Waldner, Susan Abrams, Jerry Jacobs, Christopher Denton, Barney Greenberg, Jerry Gimple, Phyllis Lapin, Libby Katz, Betty Olson, Miriam Ballouse, Marnie Hanley, and Sarah Kahn. If you are thinking of someone who is in need of a prayer of healing, I invite you to share their name with the community when my eyes meet yours, or if you are joining us virtually, to add their name at this time to the chat. We think of all of them and we ask for God's healing presence to be with them, just as we ask for God's healing presence to be with all of those who are ill around the world, those who are suffering from COVID, those who are victims of violence around the globe. We also ask God to be with those who care for the sick each day, granting them support and strength, hope and love, as we ask for God's healing presence to be with all of us, as we join together in this blessing on page 371.
Mi shevera avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We turn now in our prayer books to page 586, and we rise before the open ark for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lateit kedula liotze bereshit, shehu notesh shamayim v'yosed haaretz, umoshav yikaro bashamayim mima'al, ushchinatu zo begovei meromim, hu Eloheinu einod, v'anachnu koreim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'ne'emar ve'aya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Yesh kochavim she'oram magia arza, rak ka'asher hem atzmam avdu ve'enam. There are stars up above, so far away. We only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. At this sacred moment of our Shabbat evening worship, we think longingly and lovingly of those taken from us both recently and at this season in years past. We are in a period of Shloshim, the first 30 days since their funeral, of Charles Goodman, Ann Perlman, and Michael Kelly. And we mark the yahrzeits, the anniversary of their passing on this Shabbat, of Albert Lewis Cohan, Arthur Jonas, Esther Lebowski, Evelyn Fox, Francis Goldstein, Henny Lowenberg, Ida Dochin, Larry Slavin, Philip Rosenberg, Ruth Miller, and Sarah Guth. If you are remembering someone on this Shabbat, I invite you to share their name with the community as my eyes meet yours, or to put it in the chat if you are joining us virtually. Zichronam livracha. May all of their memories be a blessing as we take their memories into our hearts, linking them as we do each week, but especially on this Shabbat as we remember Kristallnacht, to the millions of our people who have no one to say Kaddish for them, and the thousands and thousands who have died during the course of the pandemic. We link all of their names and all of their memories to the Shemei Rabbah, the great, holy, and awesome name of God, that we praise with the words of the mourner's Kaddish, rising as one community and turning to page 598 to speak together these sacred words. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach cherutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chaye echon u'vyom echon u'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivorach le'olam o'amei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all the bereaved here and everywhere with the blessing of peace. As together we all say, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'yimeru. Amen.
Please be seated. Good Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbat.
It was a joy to be with all of you tonight, both here in the sanctuary as well as everyone joining us through our various virtual platforms. Just a few brief announcements before we conclude our service tonight. Tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m., we will gather together here in the social hall for Singo. Ashley is right there. If you have any questions, you can ask Ashley about it during our Oneg Shabbat. On Sunday morning, we have religious school as well as Play Tamid, our program for our youngest kids with their parents, kids under the age of 4. And we'll meet outside in the tent and celebrate Hanukkah, get ready to celebrate Hanukkah with our kids as our religious school will be meeting here in the building. On Monday, Molly's Hebrew class will continue at 10 a.m. And on Wednesday at 11 a.m., we will gather together in the social hall for Torah study. We're all invited to join us if you want to come once, if you want to come every week, to come and study Torah with us. We are in the midst of the book of Deuteronomy and moving through it at really a snail's pace because we have these great discussions every week. So I hope you will all consider joining us to study some Torah each week on Wednesdays. On Thursday, our knitting and crochet group meets on Zoom at 1 p.m. And next Friday night, join us for Kabbalat Shabbat services at 7:30 p.m. And if you have a November anniversary, make sure to come and get a blessing during services next week as well. A special thank you this week, first to Art again for sharing his story, as well as to Sherry and Fred for sponsoring this week's Oneg. We thank you. You're all invited to join us at our Oneg Shabbat following the services on the front patio. But before we do that, we need to say Kiddush and Motzi and conclude with a closing benediction. So I'm going to ask everyone to turn to page 123. Please rise for Kiddush.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'yavahu v'ratzon hilchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'yava u'vratzon, inchalatanu, baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-shabbat. L'chaim.
We uncover the challah as we sing together.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
For our closing song in benediction, we thought on a Shabbat as such it would be appropriate to offer each other a prayer for peace, page 181.
Ose shalom bimroma, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imu imeru, amen. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good Shabbos.